It's a little bit of an early morning over here, Joe, and by that I mean it's about 11 a.m., which is still a pretty early morning over here for me. Because most of the time I am doing stuff like casting over here in the morning. It is, currently Friday here. I guess it's also Friday there. Thursday. Okay. All right. I'm ahead of the game, Joe, but it's good to be here to cast some CSL. Well, and really, the cool thing about this is that you don't really have to wait at all to get one of the best games of this entire series. It's going to be starting off with Semper taking on Jason, otherwise known as Juggernaut Jason. These guys are actually two of the best collegiate players in North America, and also just two of the best players in North America. So super excited to get this started.
Yeah, and spawning down here in the bottom right-hand corner, playing for University of Montreal, we have the Purple Terran player. It is going to be Semper.
His opponent in the upper left-hand corner of the map, Paladino. This is Jason. I'm probably still going to call him Juggernaut Jason because that is just such a super cool name. But either way, it's really cool to be back and casting CSL with you, Joe. It's been a little bit of a while.
Yeah, I think we were casting together last week. Was definitely a lot of fun, and thanks so much for coming on. This sure beats the heck out of solo casting. Obviously, your voice gets a bit hoarse. I don't know how guys like Wardy will cast an entire day's worth of tournaments just talking to themselves. They have kind of the stamina of a champion there.
Well, Wardy is the true juggernaut here, so that is for sure. And yeah, casting a lot doesn't really help your vocal cords. Neither does being sick or being at Artos's birthday party last night, all of which have made my throat a little bit crazy right now. But we can just talk about the TVT. Jason had a very early scout. I thought he was going to do some proxy barracks, but it was a little bit past that timing. So instead, he is just going to scout and find out that, in fact, your opponent spawns, at the only other place on the map that he possibly could.
Yeah, so Jason, I know you suggested proxy barracks, but Jason's playstyle typically, he's a hyper macro player. He likes to play really passive. He likes to get up to 200. He likes to go for drops that will do damage but not kill people. Some would say he's passive and macro intensive to a fault. I don't know if that's exactly fair, but he's definitely a guy that enjoys a longer game of StarCraft. Whereas Semper can really mix it up. He can go toe-to-toe with the Koreans when it comes to a macro game, of course, but he also has some of the sharpest timings and kill moves there is. So I think that Semper does have a bit of a deeper bag of tricks here when it comes to TVT in StarCraft 2. That being said, this is a matchup he's really struggling with, so I think that can kind of help to even up the skill difference between a player like Semper, who's right around that pro level, and a player like Jason, who's just kind of a high GM streamer.
Yeah, I don't know. I really have a lot of fun watching Jason stream. He's a great streamer. You guys should check him out if you are looking for a great StarCraft streamer out there. For Semper, man, you don't even have to wait until he streams to find him. Like you said, Joe, one of the best players in North America. And now Double Reaper's going to be able to kill that SCV a second before the command center finishes, and that. While two Reapers are probably not going to deal that much damage, they did just have their building damage changed, but probably not going to be able to quite take that command center out.
Yeah, really cute Reaper micro here. With those mines, it would actually have softened up the bio-army there enough to be able to take them on if it wasn't for the backup Hellion coming down. Now it's Cyclone going to swing in from the side for Semper here. That's going to offer a lot of additional DPS and actually push Jason back up this ramp, allowing Semper free reign on the low ground.
Well, this is where we see this morphed into a planetary fortress instead of an orbital, but no, this is actually just an orbital. I mean, that's what I would do, and then I'd be like, oh, I morphed it, and I killed your 3 units, and then I, didn't have an orbital. But, orbital's still going to take a lot of damage from this Cyclone, and so, Oh, there's actually a second cyclone coming around the side here. Semper, not any of this crazy all-in shenaniganry, but gonna be able to put on a lot of pressure, even attacking just these buildings from the low ground.
Yeah, with this medevac down here, he gains the high ground vision without the disadvantage of sending his Reaper up. He can threaten to elevate other Cyclones. I don't think that's likely given the Marine count on the ground, but he can do some really cute pickup micro, and I think now he's just going to grab his damaged Cyclones, get out, get home, repair them, and he ends up in kind of an awkward spot. His second command center is still quite a bit slower than Jason's. He didn't deal any kind of serious economic damage, but then we can see the follow-up. It's just going to be production, 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 and I wouldn't be surprised if we see Semper go for another kind of very strong pressure in the near future.
Yeah, it's really interesting, Joe, to think about, the difference between, passive macro play and, like you mentioned from Jason and Semper, trying to, get out there and get things done. Now, we're going to see Semper go for try number 2, and this is from a Raven, which will be scouted passing through the back of those gas geysers. But going to get a few SCV here, kills here for free. That's 4 because the engineering bay was located in the back of the base, and unfortunately, oh wow.
Ooh, yeah, that was a really brutal pick-off by Jason. Really, really tight defense. Losing that Raven costs a lot of gas. It's really going to put a hamper on Semper's ability to harass with auto turrets, obviously, and I think that kind of puts Semper back into a defensive posture here. As I say that, he of course moves the Cyclone out, proving me wrong.
Yeah, I was going to say that puts some rough vocal cord harass from me coughing there right as the attack was coming in. I'm like, let's do some play-by-play, and then my vocal cords just die. So apologies for that. But yeah, this Cyclone control from Semper has been really good. He got out there and at least put the pressure on to Jason. But it's really going to be this big, I don't want to call it mech just because they're siege tanks, but it is going to be a big push out into the middle of the map. Not necessarily to push his opponent, but to try to work on securing this third.
Looks like the Viking of Semper are going to push away Jason's drop. Really nice moves here. Both Cyclones will lock on.
Oh, he's going to lose it.
DPS that down. Yeah, the medevac's going to go down. The Cyclones are safe for now, but they actually have to knock down these rocks. And I think Semper should be able to put the moves on before they're able to escape. That looks like it was Dustin Bowder's kind of absolute favorite dream in the world, seeing players take advantage of rock mechanics like that. And now Semper's going to push on up through here, and it looks like going in for another push.
Yeah, weird thing about Paladino is if you do push right through the middle, you have to pass through these tiny, tiny choke points. And yeah, I feel like that's something that maybe Jason could have used more to his advantage. And now just look at the siege positioning too, barely out of vision range, and that's going to allow Semper to set up into an almost unbreakable position.
Yeah, it's going to put a lot of power here. Obviously, he's attacking up from the low ground. I don't think he can start creeping too far forward just yet, but with these Vikings, he will have high ground vision. He can continue to shell away at the production of Jason, and that's a really, really bad spot to be in. We can see Jason now walking back his production. He did lose that tech lab, which is going to mean no more siege tanks unless he switches the barracks tech lab onto it. That would put him back in range of the tanks, though, so that's oh man, there is not a lot of good choices here. We can see Jason desperately trying to restart his production. He's going to lose that combat shield, completely denied there. And I think Semper may just win this game from the low ground.
Yeah, I mean, low ground, you think about that as being a disadvantage. And of course, with the big drop in Semper's main, actually getting a decent amount of damage done, kill off 8 SCVs, but he's actually just losing his production from the low ground, like you mentioned. What was I talking about? Oh yeah, I've been playing a lot of Brood War with the advent of Brood War HD, and low ground versus high ground is never a fight that you will win, thanks to like 40% mischance there. So this is making me realize just how good not having a mischance makes you at pushing from the low ground.
Yeah, it does look like Jason's going to go for what could be the final push of his game here. He's going to be moving up, looking for some damage on the edges, not quite going to find it. And Jason forced to pull back there. Semper continuously sieging this position. This is such a powerful spot for him, and he's doing a great job of dancing with these Vikings. There's nothing really left on the ground for Jason now. Semper recognizes this. He's going to pick up, boost everything he has into this main base, and GG, well played is called. First game goes to the University of Montreal.
Wow, that was so well executed. Not just the start of Semper's initial aggression, but the follow up push, trapping those two cyclones, which was, I gotta say, a little bit wacky. It's like, they can drop here, but you can't get them out. So yeah, just to that follow up low ground push, defending the drop at the same time. Semper just really looking on top of everything, and Jason tried to play that maybe a little bit more passive macro style, and just didn't work out.
Yeah, now, anyways, our next game is going to be between Jig and Bones, a semi pro player, versus, I think, a semi retired former semi pro player. But either way, it should be a great game. Two high level players. Before we go to our quick break, I want to say a big thank you to our sponsors for making this possible. We, of course, have Twitch. They're absolutely awesome. Say thanks if you appreciate them sponsoring the CSL. Asus ROG is currently running a really cool contest where if you submit your best plays to them, you have the chance to win like a $1,500 really high-end Asus ROG laptop. That's super cool. You can get more details on the CSL website, csstarleague.com. And last but not least, of course, is Band Gaming. They have a really great social app that helps you coordinate your CSL teams and any other kind of gaming clan or maybe raid group you might need. They've got a calendar. They've got chat features. They're on Google Play and the Apple App Store, and I believe you can just hop on their website if you want to download that for your PC. So without further ado, guys, we are going to play some ads, and then we're going to be right back with that 1v1.
Only $14.99.
Don't miss the call. Download Band. Communication made easy.
Ben, Sam, and Ken are on separate journeys to defeat the menacing Vile Dragon. But let's just say luck isn't on their side. If only there was a way for them to find each other and band together. Well, that's why there's Band. It's a mobile app that allows people to come together using common interests. With Band, you can find fellow gamers, chat, schedule gaming sessions, and conduct polls. Stage epic battles with friends while sharing videos and photos along the way. So try Band today. Band. Be together.
All of your wind has gone, and all of the paths you've drawn have sunk to the ocean sand where no one can see. You stand, don't let the dark embrace, cower the dreams you chase under the rust and blood. Don't let yourself give up.
and gentlemen, hello and welcome back to the CSL. My name is Joe. I'm here with Rapid, and we're getting ready to bring you the second game of these playoffs. Man, oh man, am I super excited for this. It's going to be another great game.
That's right, Joe. It's going to be between Bones and Jig, and I think Bones is a guy that I've at least seen a little bit with the emergence of Eastloth. Not too familiar with Nocturnal Gamers, where Jig is technically from, but we don't even know these guys from their teams. They are playing to represent their schools here, and especially after Semper laid a little bit of smackdown on Jason, there will be some comeback required.
Absolutely. Well, without further ado, spawning up here in the top right-hand corner, playing for the University of Montreal, we have our green Zerg player, Jig.
And his opponent in the blue on the lower left-hand side of the screen, who apparently now I just cannot move my mouse down there, but his opponent is Bones.
So I want to give a bit of history on these two guys in case people maybe aren't super familiar with them, because even though they're both really talented players, obviously, they're not the most well-known guys in the scene. So Jig is I guess he's kind of been up and coming for a while now, but at this point it's safe to say that he's truly up and coming. He's on the rise. He's probably the second best French Canadian player after Semper. I don't know if you count Semper. He's kind of a weird edge case. And then you have Bones, who's a guy that was actually on Ro8's Academy back in Heart of the Swarm. He was doing pretty well there. Showed up a few good results. I think he made some decent challenger bracket runs. I don't know if he's been super active, but as we can see, he is in Grandmaster League right now, and once you're kind of at that level, you keep the mechanics. It's like riding a bike, and he's probably taking the CSL pretty seriously, probably laddering quite a bit, so we're going to see kind of the old, grizzled semi-pro versus the guy that's maybe a little bit hotter and up-and-coming right now, and we'll see if experience beats out the new thing.
Well, just starting to talk about the way that this game is working out, this pro will meet quite a few Zerglings running out there across the map and going to signal to his friends back home, this better be a very tight wall-in. The wall-in at Bones' base is actually really interesting because it reminds me, once again, about a lot of those Brood War wall-ins that you do. Those were with cannons and forges. This is just going to be with a couple, or the gateway and cybernetics core at the front, but it's still not going to be a tight wall-off.
Yeah, actually, he's going to want to move a probe or something into position there. I'm not sure if one probe would have been enough, but with the second pylon on the way, that's good for Bones, obviously. That's going to help him keep that gateway powered, even if the Zerglings were to right-click on it. But this big probe pull, quite a committal here, but it should allow him to defend it with minimal losses. Now that he's got a Zealot out, he doesn't really need to be fighting with these probes. Ling's going to bounce around, move on into this main base, and see if they can find any damage. And it is fairly undefended other than the possibility of a potential probe pull to try to hold this.
Yeah, you're right, Joe, and I think the probe pulls have been pretty good. Unfortunately, still a lot of lost mining time, and this is a great strategy to go for here on Proxima, just because of how difficult it is to expand and defend that low ground from early Zergling pressure.
Yeah, finally, this Zealot's going to clean it up. Left with just a couple of HP there. That's pretty brutal. 8 health. And it looks like Jig is going to bounce around on the edges. He's got some more Lings. This wall, I think, is tight. Yeah, it looks like with the hexes the way they are, this wall is going to be tight for the moment. So Jig is probably not going to be able to get anything done here. This is one of those weird situations where, do you see how, like, there's a bunch of empty space because the building's still warping in? You actually can't walk through there because, yeah, once it finishes, it lines up those hexes with that gas refinery. And I think Jig is, I mean, he's got a lot of Lings, so he's probably going to want to do something. Ventral Sax, or rather Overlord Speed on the way, so we might be seeing some of those Dropper Lords with that Evolution Chamber about halfway done.
Yeah, and then this is another one of those Dustin Browder maps, Joe, where there are lots of destructible rocks and lots of really cool things that you can do with them. You might actually start to try to break those down. There's no pylons to scout them out if they are being broken down, but just going to make sure that there's no gold base being taken and keep that map control for now. But yeah, I mean, he's droning up behind this, but he's droning on 2 bases, and I mean, that's just not a lot of bases. I can count to those on my fingers, Joe.
Yeah, I think you're right about that, but look at this, Rapid. The Zergling drop is going to be coming in here. He's going to be looking for damage. He's going to be bouncing around. Ling's speed is done. That's going to make probe pulls a whole lot less effective. And already we can see probes starting to fall. Jig finding damage wherever he can. He's pulling ahead in drones. Adepts are going to come up to try to defend this. But dropping this many Lings for 7 probes, that's a trade absolutely any Zerg player would take at this stage in the game.
Oh yeah, absolutely, and he's even still got the drop overlords. Did not lose those at all, so he can load up and pick up and get out of there if he needs to. Great harassment, but it's okay. Only just now taking that third base for Jig. That might be a little bit slow. He will have a very good economy behind it. But we're gonna see what his tech path looks like going into roaches as well as getting his lair up. Maybe looking for a timing to follow up that as soon as his third finishes.
Yeah, Bone's going to be looking for the revenge damage in the form of the Oracle, but Jig is just really making this drop work. I think it's picked up a cumulative 11 Overlords, and oh, I love what he's doing. He's flying these Overlords in just to try to mess with his opponent. There's nothing in him, but...
what a guy. This guy is not, this is not your best friend. This is the guy that's just like, hey man, how you doing? And then you're like, what's this in my back? It's a knife. Trying to get as much value out of these drop overlords, even if he doesn't have anything left to drop.
Yeah, I've got to think at this point Bones is feeling a little bit shook here. We can actually see he's going into a Void Ray, probably just trying to get some of that air control, keep those overlords from being on the edges of his base like they are now, because that can just get really, really annoying. And,
yeah, I mean, you just have to go that the Void Ray. Otherwise, you're just gonna have the same. Are there things inside my drop overlords, or are there not?
Okay, so this is a move out of Jig. He appears to be going for a Hydralisk Lurker or a Hydralisk Nidus, which is not a thing I've seen before.
No, Joe, that is actually just not a thing. You either go for lurkers in your Nidus, or you just roach all in through your Nidus. But
or even Mass Queen Ling I've seen, but I've never seen Hydras in a Nidus. It's a weird unit to put in there because they're really gas intensive, and so are the Niduses. So it's one of those things where typically you'd probably want more resources than Jig has. But I mean, with what he's forced out, like a low gateway unit count, a single Void Ray. He knows that his opponent has Stargate tech. This could be a really smart choice.
Well, here we go. The knight is coming up not into the base, but just trying to establish a position there at the front. And so I actually like this with Hydralisk a little bit better. This is going to remind me a whole lot of, Hydra busts at the front. I'm going to be making a lot of Brood War references here, guys. But that's kind of what this would be like versus Terran. But now trying to get this Hydra bust on, burying the Hydras across the map instantly with the power of science.
Yeah, we see about 5 Adepts coming up to meet this. There's a Void Ray in the back. Oracle going to be pulled off. That actually offers a lot of DPS against the light Hydras. And they're going to be just looking to try to pick anything off. Their Muscular Augments just completed, and that should help them out a bit here with their maneuverability. Going to continue to knock down this wall.
Cool stasis ward, though.
Ooh, yeah, that's a really sexy position. I'm super zoomed out, so it's actually tough to see with the defensive warp-ins that Bones is doing. But that should help him a lot. If a few units trickle through, he can actually slice them off. It's almost like a force field. You don't have to micro.
Yeah, fortunately, there's an Overseer to take that out, and he will pick off the second one as well. But continuing to push forward, there's just not enough on the ground here for Bones.
Yeah, Jig pulling out some really cool play here in game number 2. It looks like the University of Montreal may be going up 2-0. Bones is not quite dead yet. He may be able to make a miracle happen here. I think it would probably involve an absolutely perfect probe pull and then just a painfully long macro game. But if he's going to make something happen, I think it has to happen before the next wave of Hydras joins up and arrives. Because at that point, I think Jig may just have kind of an overwhelming amount of DPS at his disposal.
We're going to see the Hydralisk push through here. Nice force fields will zone off a few of them. You should actually pick off this tiny contingent of Hydra that is split northward. But what is ironic here is the poetic justice. Okay, I'll talk about that after this game. Get my soapbox on. But moving the Hydralisk forward, there's just too much Zerg. There's a lot of Adepts on the ground, but even these fancy skinned Immortals will not be enough to save Bones' base.
Yeah, Bones putting up a good effort, but the win goes to Jig there. Really cool, really clean, all-in type play. And, yeah, that was neat.
It's always cool because Protoss are the players that can warp things in across the map with either pylons or warp prisms. And that time, the defender's advantage was mitigated against the Protoss by the Zerg players Nidus right up to the front. So really good player, good play there. And Jig gonna make the comeback.
Yeah, so we're going to be going to a quick break, guys, but when we come back, we're going to have our 2v2, and this could be the final game of the evening. Keep in mind the University of Montreal up 2-0 over University of Ontario Institute of Technology. Don't go anywhere, guys. We are going to be right back with that 2v2 match.
Only $14.99.
Don't miss the call. Download Band. Communication made easy.
Ben, Sam, and Ken are on separate journeys to defeat the menacing Vile Dragon. But let's just say luck isn't on their side. If only there was a way for them to find each other and band together. Well, that's why there's Band. It's a mobile app that allows people to come together using common interests. With Band, you can find fellow gamers, chat, schedule gaming sessions, and conduct polls. Stage epic battles with friends while sharing videos and photos along the way. So try Band today. Band. Be together.
All of your wind has gone, and all of the paths you've drawn have sunk to the ocean sand where no one can see. You stand, don't let the dark embrace, cower the dreams you chase under the rust and blood. Don't let yourself give up. And all these steps that we take are leading us far away. And all these years are passing each day. Since then we are far away from where we were. We did what we could. We're 9 years away from where we stood. The road goes on far from it all.
Ladies and gentlemen, hello and welcome back to the CSL. We have University of Montreal in a dominating position with a 2-0 lead. They only need one more map here to close out the series. What that means is that the University of Ontario Institute of Technology needs to come in with the reverse all kill if they want to go to those finals in Toronto.
That's right, and without further ado, I suppose we should actually get into what could be our wackiest game of the night. It's a 2v2 coming up on, I believe it's called Magma Mines map. I'm still going to have to get used to.
Yeah, spawning up here in the top right-hand corner, playing for, these guys are playing for the University of Montreal. We have our pink Protoss player, Goon, and our red Zerg player, Kraken.
It's like extra work for Joe because he has to introduce 2 players and go between 4 bases, but mad respect there. Their opponents, I'm going to start with the Teal Terran player representing University of Ontario Institute of Technology.
Yes.
I think I put an extra university there, but in the teal is Ryuga as our Terran player and our blue Zerg player, Bears.
So
I imagine Bears would be pretty bad at StarCraft though, Joe, because they've got those extra long like talon claw things, and I don't think those work too well. I mean, they work really well if you're gonna give guy an Oscar, but they are not super great at StarCraft.
Wait, did you say if you're gonna give a guy an Oscar?
Yeah, did you never watch The Revenant?
Oh, I haven't actually seen it, but I do get the joke now.
Oh my god, yeah, no, it's a sick meme if you've seen the movie.
Anyways, we do see Kraken coming out with a bit of aggression here. He's going to be making a lot of links and a very quick baneling nest off of 1 base.
Mm-hmm.
That's actually really weird. No, I guess it's not that weird. I looked at his drone count wrong. A lot of the times on a map like this, it would make sense to take a second one because the gold's so accessible, and then you can do the no regret thing and really flood out those lings. But he's going to be going for kind of an earlier pool here. We'll have to see if his opponents can anticipate it, can scout it out. The rush distance is crazy short on this map, so that means that you can scout really quickly, but also attacks can hit your base way faster than on a normal map.
Yeah, and so it's interesting to see the difference between these team compositions. What you're going to see is every player wants a Zerg on the team just because they have a lot of early aggression power and they have overlords to scout, and air units are probably pretty strong. We've got to control the Zerglings in the middle of the map. Bears will be able to get out of there pretty unscathed. But here comes the wings. The Zergling speed finishes, and that means that Bears can lose a lot of Zerglings in the middle of the map. There's just not a lot back at home for him.
Yeah, Ryuga, though, does have a wall up at the top here. Bears' Banelings may be able to bust it down. 7 Banelings is enough to break that wall, but with 4 Marines in the bunker and more units behind, he may actually be able to, with good focus fire, DPS down most of those Banelings before they reach his wall. There's actually also counter Banelings to deal with the rush. These guys, absolutely, Ryuga and Bears, have every single tool they need to hold this attack. It's just going to come down to the execution.
Yeah, so they will be able to kill a few Banelings. Look at them target firing them down. It does blow up that front wall, but there is a rear bunker already being started.
Yeah, this was no skin off these guys' backs. Sure, take my supply depot, take my bunker, homie. You're still sitting there on 1 base, and look how many units I have. Looks like Bears is going to be pretty comfortable coming in here, forcing a run by. That's going to force these guys home, or they're going to be forced to go into a full-on base trade situation, and they're not going to want to do that because they're only on 1 base.
Exactly, and it's kind of interesting to see the Terran player be given both bases instead of the Zerg for the extra hatcheries and mining, but then it makes a lot more sense in this 2v2 context because, obviously Terrans will be able to call down twice as many mules, and that will really get this slingshot effect going. Kind of the same situation, but without the economy on the other side. Goon went double gas early, started just like, pumping from four gateways off of 1 base. Trying to synergize up with the rest of his teammates' forces, but didn't quite have that together for that early baneling bust.
Yeah, Kraken actually just rallied a bunch of drones into the middle of the map where they were killed without contest, and that makes me think he may be a little bit tilted, a little bit shaken perhaps, that his early aggression didn't work. And Ryuga and Bears look postured to just power on through here, although that was a terrific defensive baneling hit.
Yeah, also going to get maybe another one. Nope, just going to bruise at least one of Bears, but Bears running the Banelings around into this Zerg mineral line. Drones clumping up, but should be enough Stalkers to pick off these Banelings. Whoa, okay, I take it back. There's at least one good connection, and yikes, things are looking a little bit rough here.
Yeah, it looks like Kraken and Goon in a rough position here as Ryuga and Bears, their supplies are really starting to skyrocket ahead of their opponents. Bear is going to be taking this natural base really, really far away. That suggests to me that he's going to want to take a third pretty quickly here, and then maybe link up the creep between those 3 bases. Not 100% sure on that, but that's what I would have to guess if I was a betting man. I don't think it's a ninja base, just based on the fact that this map is so small, it's hard to actually hide anything anywhere. And I think having done their damage, the University of Ontario is going to be content to just back off for the moment.
Yeah, and Ontario is doing a great job at just macro. They started with the early base, and now they're going to be continuing with expanding even further out on the map. Finally, the Zerg is not just the subservient one. Bears is going to pick himself up an expansion. Ironically, even farther away from his teammates, because I don't know if that counts as a hidden base or what, but it's going to be way out there.
Yeah, so I think the pressure is probably on Goon and Kraken to make something happen at this point. But what can you even do? Look at the army of Ryuga. That is an impressive army. He was able to build it up based on the defenses of his teammate here in the early game. And it just looks like Ryuga, or rather Goon and Kraken, are going to struggle to be able to produce an army that can fight what Ryuga and Bears have out on the field.
Yeah, I mean, as all good followers of the Church of Todd are wont to do, if you just look at the supply, you can see exactly how one-sided is. Kraken has 38 supply, Joe.
Yeah, Goon just lost his mothership core without getting out a single photon overcharge here. This supply drop from Ryuga is doing massive damage. A lot of probes went down, a lot more were first to pull off the line. Stalkers warped in to respond to this. Quick blink, probably not going to catch the medevac as it backs away here. And oh man, this is just really brutal for Montreal.
So you said the supply drop did a lot of damage, and I was just like, man, Joe, if my supply drops did damage, I would have killed every supply depot I would try that on. Imagine if you could drop supply on your opponent's depots to kill the depots. Now that would be super cool, but unfortunately this is not that alternate universe, and in fact, instead, we just have regular well, I wouldn't say a regular game here. This is actually pretty cool to see the early sort of slingshot effect, like we said earlier, of Ryuga getting the extra base early, and now you can really just see his economy taking off. He's ahead in supply by miles, and even going for drop harass like we just saw.
So one thing I'm showing right now, if you take a look at the vision that Ryuga and Bears have, they know everything that's going on. They're canceling hatches. They're killing things all over the map. If you take a look at Goon and Kraken's vision, they see nothing. After their early game aggression, they got no additional scouting in. They have no idea what their opponents are doing. They just have to blindly make units, go for Hail Mary type plays like this Spire that we see, and just kind of hope the proper response isn't in place.
Yeah, and this is a sort of a lost place to find yourself. I mean, these guys do not live in Never Neverland, but they may as well be lost boys at this time. They are trying to run out there, and you even saw them put down a hatchery before, or without even knowing that there was a drop right there waiting to cancel it. It didn't actually get canceled. I think it actually did die there. So, man, it's just going to be a rough place for Goon and Kraken to come back from.
Yeah, now it looks like Drone's going to be moving down. Bears is taking his third base, even onto his fourth here, while his opponent is still stuck on just 2. He is going to try to remake this base as Kraken, but I mean, the drops, man, they're going to come back in.
The drops, that's my favorite build orders. Drops into bops. You just you bop them out of the game. It's not going to look too good as a massive bio ball. Flanked by some Banelings and Zerglings. This is so weird to think of lore-wise, because I'm just like, well, you guys should be fighting each other. But no, these guys are on the same side, sieging up in the middle of the map, and finally just really slicing this map in two, and very solid push forward from Ryuga and Bears.
Yeah, I think this should be the game-ending move as long as they don't step out of place. They are still in a bit of danger from the Mutalisks. If the siege tanks become isolated, they could be very juicy targets, and then perhaps some good Baneling connections could take out the bio. It's going to be on Goon and Kraken to try to make that happen. They've closed the supply gap a bit, but they need to do a whole lot more. These first Banelings are going to come crashing into the front lines. Zerglings get pulled up into that main base. Mutalisk doing a great job of picking off the weakened Banelings at the front here, but the siege tanks of the back of Ryuga offer so much damage onto those stalkers whenever they step in range.
Oh, and a rough rally. Just going to decide to go for it. Here we go, Joe. Trying to get in onto this massive Terran force. Stalker's actually finally arcing up, but look at that siege tank damage. The Concave stemming forwards, and Ryuga really just crushing everything in his path. Kraken drops a GG. Bears there to follow, and wow, what a game, Joe. What a game. 2v2, very exciting. But in the end, it will be the University of Toronto Institute of Technology that takes the win.
Yeah, they keep their team alive in this series. Really impressive play out of these guys. They're going to live to fight another day in the Archon match here. And they're going to have to win that, too, if they want to stay alive and keep those Toronto dreams going. Now, before we go anywhere, guys, of course, I want to mention that Asus ROG is having a really cool contest. If you go onto the CS Star League website, you can learn a bit more about it, but basically, you clip your hottest plays from your team. If you're on more than one team, like perhaps a Counter-Strike team or something as well, anything the CSL runs, you can make your best plays in there, send them in, and you have a chance to win a $1,500 gaming laptop. Also, the team that sends in the most clips gets a big box of Asus ROG swag, stuff like t-shirts, maybe a backpack, some keychains, and whatever. I know I'd want that stuff. Show off what a sweet nerd baller I am. So during the break, we're going to play some ads. You guys can go on CS Star League's website and check that out.
Only $14.99.
Don't miss the call. Download Band. Communication made easy.
Ben, Sam, and Ken are on separate journeys to defeat the menacing Vile Dragon. But let's just say luck isn't on their side. If only there was a way for them to find each other and band together. Well, that's why there's Band. It's a mobile app that allows people to come together using common interests. With Band, you can find fellow gamers, chat, schedule gaming sessions, and conduct polls. Stage epic battles with friends while sharing videos and photos along the way. So try Band today. Band. Be together.
All of your wind has gone, and all of the paths you've drawn have sunk to the ocean sand where no one can see. You stand, don't let the dark embrace, cower the dreams you chase under the rust and blood. Don't let yourself give up.
gentlemen, hello and welcome back to the Archon match of CSL. I'm Joe Luguidis. I'm joined by Rapid Casting, who is looking fairly swell. How you feeling, bud?
I'm feeling fairly swollen. My throat has seen better days, but the games today are great, so at least that makes up for it. We're going to be getting into our second map with 4 players in it, but this time it's Archon mode with Semper and Kraken taking on Ryuga and Bears for the second time.
Well, without further ado, let's hop in, spawning in the top right-hand corner, playing for the University of Ontario Institute of Technology. We have Ryuga and Bears.
Indeed we do, and it's only on one base this time, so it's not quite as hard to show all the players, their opponents. In the purple playing Terran are going to be Semper and Kraken. So bringing in the big guns, Semper back at it again, looking to hopefully close the series out.
Yeah, so this should be a really interesting game. Something we talk about a lot here in the CSL with how Archon mode is played is a lot of the times you have these two competing interests, right? You have teamwork versus raw skill of the players. So Semper is obviously the best player in this game, unless like you're secretly the Korean GM and haven't been telling us, Rapid.
Not quite.
But anyways, Semper is the strongest player in this game. His opponent Kraken is quite a bit weaker than him. On the other side of the map, we have Ryuga and Bears that are both High Masters players. So even though neither of them individually can match the might that is Semper, perhaps with the additional multitasking of Archon mode and really great teamwork, they can overcome him, because I think Kraken could be a bit of a weak link. Now in Archon mode, there's a couple ways to play, right? Do you know who Bales is, Rapid?
I do. Big fan.
So Bales, obviously pro player. He plays in the CSL, and the way he plays Archon mode is he does a normal 1v1 build, and he gives his teammate an oracle, and he says, "This is your oracle. There are many oracles like it, but this one is yours." And he gets to play a game of League of Legends using just an oracle, and he can rack up a whole lot of kills with that oracle. But that's all his teammate does. And if he loses the oracle, he makes him another maybe. On the other side of things, you have players like Tesla and Centaurwa that just split up really well. They control different parts of the army. They split macro and micro and all that fun stuff. And I think if Ryuga and Bear want to win, what they really need to do is play in a more cohesive team-styled way than Semper and Kraken. Because I wouldn't be surprised if Semper is the dominant player for obvious reasons.
Yeah, and there's still the idea of giving your Archon mode ally a unit to micro here, with Kraken maybe taking control of the Reaper, able to get in there and get out, have some good KD8 charged micro there. I don't know. Reaper is generally a little bit less effective than Oracles, but we'll see what they can get done. It is going to be a Terran versus Zerg here on Cactus Valley, and at least over here amongst all the Korean players, Cactus Valley is not a map you'll see a lot because things like map bans exist. So you don't actually get a chance to see this map too often in pro play, even though it is in the current map pool. I think one of the reasons is for TVZ especially, it's a little bit interesting to see how Zerg deals using just ground forces, with where you can set up a lot of siege tank positions. Also, Hellions, especially Reactor Hellions, a very, very strong option on this map. But instead, we're going to see a transition immediately into Cloak Banshee.
Yes, indeed. And that's a really powerful Archon unit. You give your opponent a Cloaked Banshee, man, oh man, you were talking about Reapers are weaker than Oracles. Banshees are like Oracles with cloak that don't need energy to shoot. Fix it, David Kim. But anyways, yeah, no, so Banshee's a really great choice in this matchup, in all seriousness. I love seeing them. They can do a huge amount of damage here, and Ryuga and Bear do at least briefly take control of this watchtower, but now Semper and Kraken going to come in with some Hellions from the left side. That's going to push these Lings away. They need to be careful not to get caught around these corners, and they are not quite careful enough. And we have a bit of a Zergling barbecue going on in the middle of the map.
Yeah, and man, losing early Zerglings versus Hellions can really start the snowball. Those are not spine crawlers; those are spore crawlers, and it's not going to help against these Hellions. They're just running around controlling the entire map. For Montreal.
Yeah, they might help when the Banshees come though. I wonder.
I mean, yeah, but you don't want them at your like choke point right there. I mean, he did overmake, I think, spores. There's one in each base and then two at the front, and here comes this Banshee, and we'll see what it can get done.
Yeah, so there is a spore on the left side here. It needs to move that queen to deal with the Banshee. Cloak's going to be done, and it's actually outside the detection range now if it wanted to play dueling banjos with that queen there.
Here come the Hellbats, though, pushing right up through the front. There's only really queens here to stop this.
Yeah, these spores do at least force a bit of a choke, but yeah, the queen's going to continue to pull back. Transfuses are going to need to be used effectively here. High energy queen goes down. That's a really unfortunate loss for our Zerg team, and these Hellbats continue to cruise on in. Banelings choose not to detonate on that single Hellbat. Probably a good choice. Lings get a decent bit of surface area. It looks like this attack will be held, but we have to ask that caster question rapid. At what cost?
Indeed, Joe. What a great caster question to ask. I think the cost there was pretty high, losing about 8 drones, many Zerglings, and a whole lot of queens. And the Banshee, by the way, still going off.
Yeah, so far so good for University of Montreal. Ryuga and Bear still have a bit of a supply lead, but I think that's deceiving just based on all the really cool tech that Semper and Kraken have available to them. They did go for kind of a 1-1-1 type build. They now have those extra 3 barracks backing up their production, but they just have a lot of infrastructure to work with. The Zerg team has a decent economy going, and their tech choice is going to be Spire to try to help control the skies.
Yeah, in the meantime, all these upgrades starting to hit. It looks like Stim will be done very soon. +1/+1 on the way, and just macroing out a ton of bio for the ground. Double reactors on these barracks, so just about to pump out a massive amount of Marines, which, by the way, should be able to be split incredibly well by 2 players in this Archon mode.
Yeah, I think you're absolutely right about that. You can really take advantage of all the kind of cool positional stuff that drops let you do in Archon mode. This Raven is dancing around at the edge of the creeps, seeing if it can find anything. Excuse me.
I mean, it's pretty cool. Actually going to use this auto turret to probably not get a whole lot done. He took out a creep tumor. Oh boy, that's not really what you want to use your auto turret energy for, but hey, making it happen and at least putting that pressure on. But now the Spire is going to finish.
Yes, indeed, and this is going to be kind of the move for Ryuga and Bear, right? They need to make something happen with this Spire. We see 5 Mutalisks started up right away. That's not really the big swell you want. Typically, you're looking for 8 to 11 when you get started on Spire off of 3 bases, but they can't quite afford that right now. They've been forced to constantly pump out units just to try to stay alive against all this. They are going to keep those Zerglings underneath the Raven. Zerglings don't shoot up, so not a huge advantage in doing that, but at least they can ward off any kind of auto turrets going on.
You know, when you think about that, if you want to like deep dive into the actual lore as this Raven tries to escape the Mutalisk, much to its chagrin, that will not be possible. It'll drop the auto turret just for a little bit of extra damage.
Ooh, but huge Marine run by coming in here, and this is just a lot of damage available. These Banelings detonating a bit prematurely there. The Terran is going to pick up and get on out of there. It looks like good hold here from the Zerg. And yeah, actually mining is going to resume normally. Nicely done by Ryuga and Bears.
Still, but without that big Mutalisk swell like you were talking about, Joe, these drops will continue. You can pick off things like soul, like individual Ravens, but it's this big bio push with all these mines coming up that Mutas are not going to help you with.
Yeah, I think in order to deal with this, I mean, Ryuga and Bear are quite a bit behind in supply, and they don't have that super high queen count that lets you effectively fight Terran when you're behind in supply. They need to get a perfect pre-spread, and they need to crash in on this before the mines get set up if they want to be taking a favorable engagement here. Now, this right now, this is still a deal with a bull army. But as we see the parade push continuing to happen, I think it's going to be harder and harder for them to defend every front at once.
Actually picking up at a bad time there. The medevacs will get picked off. And wow, that's a really great way to deal with the double drops. Mutas do, okay, almost take them out. A couple more hits here on this medevac. Should be able to finish it off. And indeed, it does go down. But it's a big push up through the middle. Baneling's trying to roll in, but turns out Widow Mines are pretty good.
Yeah, so far, Ryuga and Bear are continuing to stay alive, continuing to clean this up. Their goal, they don't have any kind of end game tech in sight. Instead, they're just going to be continuing to crank out these Mutalisks, crank out Lings, crank out Banelings, and try to deal with it that way. It's going to be tough for them to continue to match the production of Terran's burgeoning infrastructure. But they're doing their best, man. They're hanging on. They're definitely still in this game, but I'm really worried for them once these 2-2 upgrades kick in.
Yeah, 2-2 almost completed here, about 3/4 of the way done, and going up against Zerg, which is just never going to be on par with upgrades for at least ground units. Yikes! I mean, more mutas being produced. You might see them go up to this big cloud of mutas and try to keep the Terran back by harassing the main, but really just needs to hang on so this big bile ball does not just crash forward and steamroll.
Yeah, they also really need to not lose 4 mutas for free, unfortunately. Mutas are such an expensive unit, rather. And now it looks like Ryuga and Beast going to come crashing in from the sides here with these Banelings. They really want those good connections. But actually, they bleed off a lot of Mutalisks, don't manage to defend the hatchery, bleed off some Banelings for free. Really nice splits coming out of Semper and Kraken. And I think this is just the power hour for our Terran player.
Yeah, with 2-2 just now being completed, third attack upgrade coming up on the way. I mean, Ryuga actually just out of there, and that is going to do it. Semper and Kraken close the series out for Montreal.
Yeah, big congrats to them. These guys are going to be going to Toronto. I will also be going to Toronto. It should be a lot of fun. Come say hi if you're there. Yeah, I know you can go and spectate as a spectator if you're interested in doing that. Yeah, so be sure to stop by, guys, if you're in the area and you want to see some cool collegiate StarCraft. Big thanks to our sponsors, of course, Twitch, Band Gaming, and Asus. You can learn more about Asus's competition on the CS Star League website. And I think that's going to do it for us. Any last words, Rapid?
It's just always great to be able to cast with you, Joe, here on CSL, and a big thanks to everyone out there who watch, not only now, but hopefully you guys will be tuning in for these finals will be coming up in May, so do not want to miss those. If you have to watch any more CSL this season, make sure to tune into the finals a little bit later on, and yeah, just keep supporting collegiate esports.
Bye, guys. Take care. Stay in school.